Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity to present the Norwegian node in the Federated EGA, and I will focus more on the experiences we've had when trying to push this service from development and towards a production state, and try to emphasize a couple of choices that we made. I have an excellent background from Lucille and Fred to start off from when I start my presentation. Um, but one of the things we discovered was that when we wanted to go into a more closer to production state, of course, the important bits of having the microservices, the architecture, the encryption, all the technical parts solved, and also having a place to deploy it in a safe and secure manner. That was not the full picture. And the first thing we discovered was that, of course, we need to have people that need to operate this infrastructure and this service. And also we would need written documentation and standards on how this team will operate this service on this hardware. And an important thing here is also that it's not only the developers that is part of the team. You have the help desk and you have the operational team, and all of them needs to have a joint understanding of what are we providing as a service. And the next step is also when you're developing things, you don't really need to think about all the legal aspects and other things that are around. But once you're getting to that stage, you need to identify who is really the service provider that is going to be responsible for this. And that service provider is hired, is employed by an institution, a given university. ELIXIR Norway is a consortium of 5 universities. So in this case, it's the University of Oslo that is going to be the service provider that owns the service. And each of, when you have an institution like this, they have procedures and protocols for how you should deal with data protection, with other legal matters and security. They will have dedicated people, at least one per of these areas. So the data protection officer, the chief security officer, and also a legal advisor, and probably a bit more people than just the 3 represented here. And what they will start is that you as a service provider, you need to do at least 2 different rather long, complicated procedures to produce a document that in Norwegian has the abbreviation ROS. It's a risk and vulnerability analysis that needs to be, it's a process through iterations to produce this document, that it needs to be officially signed and approved. The other one is more internationally known as well. That's the data protection impact assessment analysis that has to be done and also signed and approved. And they do they do influence each other a little bit. In addition, to be able to do these 2 types of analysis, you really need to have a clear, precise scope of which software on which hardware operated by which people in which manner. That needs to be fixed before you can really do both the technical security assessment and the data protection assessment. In addition, as both Fred and Lucille highlighted, you have more people into the picture. You have the data submitters, you have the data access committees, and you have the data requesters. And there's also legal arrangements that needs to be put in place here, the data processing agreement, DPA. And before we as a local EGA can receive data from a submitter, we need to have a data processing agreement in place with each submitter. And in addition, we need to have a web presence, and the Federated EGA organizational matters is still in development. So as a service provider, you also need to take part in these discussions. So as you see, the picture is a bit bigger and more complicated at this stage than the top left part here. And it's much more influenced by more people, more paperwork, more legal matters, and all of these people need to collaborate to actually be able to get this service into a production stage. So who has the responsibility, who has the knowledge and competence, and also who is willing to change a bit to get everything in place before production. So to handle this complexity, we decided to make a release plan with 3 milestones. So in the first milestone, and for all of the rest ones, of course, we would like to have the data submission synchronized online, like Fred described, between a local or a national federated EGA node, like the Norwegian one, and central EGA from day one. But for the first release and first milestone, we would depend on a manual data out procedure that not is really automated there. And we will have geo-replication, but it will be more like a basic geo-replication where disk is replicated to tape in the same city. But in milestone 2, we will have a manual step to initiate the export after a data access committee approval, but a more streamlined process to really deliver it to the end user. And the geo-replication will be kind of upgraded to be a proper geo-replication on disk between multiple cities. For milestone 3, we will then aim to link the data access control system, data access admin system with the data out part. Of course, it will not be fully automated at any step, but to make the process even more automated, that it's only a approval step from an help desk user that is needed to set the whole thing in motion. Let me see, and then I need to click here to progress. Yes, and as Lucille said, we have based the implementation of a local EGA in on TSD, and for TSD we have kind of used TSD for this inner box, and Lucille's presentation was actually better than mine because she had highlighted the border here. TSD is a standard national solution in Norway for sensitive data analysis and storage. So even the large capacity storage systems in Norway that it's also used for non-sensitive data, a part of that is dedicated to go inside TSD. This choice has made it possible for us to build on a lot of the security measurements that TSD has in place. It also has a drawback that you need to respect all the different requirements that made TSD become what it is. What we then did to overcome that is to have this proxy layer in front where we use the very standardized TSD file API. There is almost nothing changed to that. The only thing is that through collaboration with TSD, they now accept ELIXIR AI tokens to put data in here, so that when a user uploads data, it never really stops in the proxy server. It goes directly into TSD using the ELIXIR AI token that we receive from here. And they also adapted the system so that we could allow this robust communication between central EGA and local EGA that Fred presented, which is this message queuing system. And we then also needed to agree with TSD to allow this type of communication across the secure border. On the next slide, I have a bit more of details on the implementation part. So when a Norwegian user would come to the Norwegian Federated EGA instance in the short future, hopefully, they would need to encrypt the data using the Crypt4GH tool locally. They will use the EGA uploader, which is another tool that will communicate with the intermediate server and directly insert the data into the inbox of inside TSD. And once the data is uploaded here, a message is triggered to central EGA that this don't know exists. Once the submission has been completed, as Fred said, there will be a trigger back and the data will be inserted from the inbox to the vault where it's finally stored. And the inbox is up here, sorry, and the TSD file API. Yes. So we presented some web presence, or we prepared some web presence for this service once we're ready to go online in production. It has the ELIXIR login button here, as Lucille said, as well as the central EGA credentials is needed to upload the data. And the front page, of course, describes a bit what is EGA and what is federated EGA, how are we protecting the data, how are we encrypting the data. And it also gives a step-by-step user guide on how would you upload data to the Norwegian Federated EGA. from the encryption step to the authentication step, where you both need a central EGA, username and password, and you need your ELIXIR AI token. How you do the uploading, what to do after you have uploaded files. Then you go to the EGA submitter portal, and you will complete the metadata entry there. And once you click the submit there, then the action of is triggered to move the data from the inbox into the vault, as described by Fred and Lucille earlier. The checkbox here is to identify what have we tested in production so far. So we tested the 3 first steps. The 4th step is also working. We are, when the data is uploaded to the production instance of Norway, where we have installed it on production hardware already, the data is sent to central EGA. And it's visible in the portal there. But after the submission is completed, we still need to synchronize a bit the communication there before we can get the correct triggering message back. But we can trigger it manually and insert it, and we have tested that as well. We have the first submitter with data set ready to be uploaded. It's from the Cancer Registry of Norway. It's from a project called Small Non-Coding RNA as early detector cancer biomarkers. The key numbers here is that it's around 1,200 samples, so it's rather large in number of samples, but it's not that large in size of the data, because this is microRNA sequencing data. They also have a data access committee appointed already, so they are really eager to submit. And we also have many other collaborators in Norway that are waiting for us to become ready to receive the data. So what's in place for milestone 1 and what is missing? So back to my original slide, we have the robust, secure microservices and architecture in place. We have a place to really deploy it. We have a team in place. We have most of the procedures. That's why this is orange and not fully green. And we have all the legal matters sorted out and signed. We have the initial web presence, and we are contributing to the establishment of the Federated EGA organizational structure through the request for comments processes that is ongoing. What is missing is that we need to reconnect to the production instance of central EGA. Currently, we are connected to the central EGA testing instance. There is a bit of help desk communication between central EGA and national or Norwegian Federated EGA around how to communicate information from the data access committee portal and the submission portal. And we need to, of course, complete the documentation and continue this Federated EGA formalization process. So in summary, and also to kind of answer how far are we from production state of milestone 1, what we try to do is to deal with the breadth of relevant aspects simultaneously. So not to let these things kind of wait until the end, and have a more like a smaller set of things we really define. We want to solve this and handle all the aspects around it. First for milestone 1, and then later on for milestone 2 and milestone 3. So we've applied this iterative approach to break down the complexity of really putting the service into production. We aim at completing the needed preparations and testing together with CRG and keep the momentum we now have with this deadline of the Ålands meeting, so that we can hopefully continue this and finish it in June. And then summer hits, and we would like to start the first production submission in August/September. And then I only have the acknowledgements. I'm the technical coordinator of ELIXIR Norway, and I'm part of the team. But the people that really do the work here is Eivind Hovik. He's the leader of the Oslo node of ELIXIR Norway. Dmytro Titov is the key developer, and he has also contributed to many of the slides here. Milan and Fabian are very crucial persons inside TSD that has joined ELIXIR Norway and is partly funded by Trygve and ELIXIR Norway funds. I would also thank our collaborators at TSD and Uninet Sigma, who runs the national infrastructures, Gard, Leon, and Abdulrahman there. And of course, the Trygve project, and in particular the deliverable D1 team there, and CRG, EMBL, EBI as the key people behind EGA Central. Thank you. I think I managed it on time.